And I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us at Lunch with Lucy. My name is Kate Remillard, and I'm on the marketing team at VHT Studios, and I'm here today as your MC. Before we get started, just need to mention everybody is muted except for our panelists. So if you have a question for our guest, just add it to the Q&A box on your screen, and we'll answer them as we go and have some time at the end as well for questions. At the end of the session, also, we're going to announce the 5 winners of the Lunch on Us. It'll be $25 gift cards with Doordash. So hang on to the end because you must be present to win. So with that, I'm happy to introduce the woman herself, Lucy Edwards.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sorry that it's a bit windy, so I'm here a little bit all over the place. I am in Florida on a business trip, so right now just sitting outside, but it's going to be an amazing show, and I would love to introduce our guest today, Dan Fellars, and he is director at Matterport. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Lucy. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much, Dan. Well, you know, since not everyone might be familiar with 3D tours and with Matterport and what it does, if you can just please give us a brief description of what it's all about and what can it do to help our agents with listing presentations.
Sure thing. So, you know, at Matterport, you know, we have set out to what we would say call digitize the built world. And with that, what that means is that we can take buildings and using 3D and imagery, turn them into data. And once we've done that, it gives us this opportunity to put together this incredible lifelike walkthrough of, you know, of any home, of any kind of space, so that, you know, your buyers have the opportunity to see, you know, in this, you know, environment of incredibly tight inventory, to see and walk through as if they're actually there from the comfort of their computer, from their tablet, from their mobile device, to be able to take measurements to see, you know, what if their stuff will fit inside, to be able to get a whole, you know, really holistic view of that entire space and determine if this is the right property for them.
Well, that is perfect. That's exactly what we need to know. Something short, sweet, and to the point, and what it does and how important it is. And what do you find the biggest benefit is to the agent who is using Matterport in their listing presentations? And what is the biggest benefits for the buyers as well? So it's not just, I'm sure there is for the sellers, but also for the buyers.
Absolutely. You know, for our agents, it's, you know, it's about, you know, showing that you are using really the latest technology to keep their sellers safe in this, you know, while not over yet pandemic world, that you're, you know, bringing in the most qualified potential buyers into their home by weeding out the ones that wouldn't have been good prospects to begin with, and assuring that you're delivering plenty of virtual open houses. You know, the beauty of this from a listing perspective is that you get to run an open house 24/7 for as long as that listing is active, right? So when you go, you've got, you know, your house in perfect showing condition, you get the Matterport done. Every time someone clicks on that link, they are seeing that home in its prime, exactly as you want it presented, right? And that's going to make it, you know, and that's simply going to bring more buyers to the table. Of course, from a seller standpoint, this also means that we're disrupting their lives less. And I always talk to agents about this, right? You know, everyone knows that selling a home can be a difficult process. If you are the homeowner, it is incredibly disruptive. And you want to make sure that you're bringing in qualified buyers to actually see the place in person. You know, Matterport is a great way of making sure that those that do come in aren't just going there to establish interest in their property. They're going there to confirm their interest in that property. And of course, from a buyer perspective, with inventory so tight and buyers, you know, in so many markets across the country needing to make a buy decision almost immediately when they see a place, you know, Matterport 3D just gives you that better frame of mind, better sense of mind that, you know, you are making a good decision versus just working off of photos or video alone. You've already spent the time. You can walk through and spend as much time in that property virtually as you need to, so that you can immediately make a decision that you want to place an offer, because you know that there's going to be 10 more offers coming in the next 48 hours and you want to get yours in right away.
And you touched a very good point. The property has to be absolutely prepared. And I think, our agents, and we all are used to the fact that we can just Photoshop something out. You don't like that, just get rid of that water bottle or fix that table. Well, it's totally different with Matterport. As I understand, you get what you see. So you absolutely have to prepare the property in advance, make sure that all the personal photos are removed, because the quality is so amazing. You can zoom in and you can count all 7 children that you have, so it's important to prepare, or it's important to think through what you would like. And I think one more point I would like to make, with photo shoots, you can just carry that plant from room to room. With Matterport, if it's an open space, you can't really do that. So you have to be prepared, and you have to think through how it's going to flow. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those where we've got, like, there's always one chance to make a great first impression. And while, yes, you can kind of potentially move things around during a shoot, you want to make sure, do everything you can to make sure that property is at listing quality when the photographer shows up to do the Matterport. Because as you said, we capture reality. Right. And just in on the other side of that, I've often heard people say, well, the house doesn't show all that great. I don't really want a 3D tour of it. Well, here's the thing. People are going to see it no matter what. Right. And even if you think, okay, it's not going to quite show as great, that's okay, because that's probably what it's also going to look like when they show up for an open house, or they show up for an in-person appointment. Right. So, let's make sure we're doing the best we can to get it, ready from a technical standpoint. You want to make sure you have all the lights on, all of the ceiling fans are off, right? We don't want any movement, of course, in the space, but just, have it ready so that you can make sure that we're putting your best foot forward for the hundreds of people who are going to walk through this space online before coming in for an open house, for an in-person showing, or before making an offer.
Well, I told you.
Can I just jump in real quick with a question that kind of goes along with this, from Letitia Peacher? What is your recommendation for sellers who have tenants? She has a situation with tenants that aren't very neat, and getting them to prepare the house for photos is difficult, let alone a 3D tour.
Yeah, so it's funny, I mentioned, I clicked that I wanted to answer this live, because I am literally going through this exact process right now. I am selling my condo in Chicago. My tenants are there. They've got a kid. My agent went in, and oh boy, it's a mess. Right, to take a look. And, we kind of realized that we're not going to be able to get this in order until it's time for them to move out. Now, once they do, we've got some options, including, just unfortunately capturing it empty. It doesn't always show the best, but even when you capture it empty, because of the tools that Matterport has, like measurement mode, where you can go in and actually measure things out, sellers can still get a sense of what that space looks like and go, okay, well, I've got a standard 3-person couch that I think would fit right here, right? Let me just measure this to make sure it's going to fit in that space, right? You can still get a kind of sense on there of what's going on, and down the road, don't be surprised if you don't see things like digital virtual staging of a Matterport tour coming from an empty location. Part of this, part of the reason why, we've kind of pushed that you do these now, of course, is not just the environment that we live in, is that this is the way the industry as a whole is moving, right? And giving you greater control over both the virtual and the in-person worlds of how you show your homes. And we're building the technology here, to really take that up to the next level. Right. So that, an empty home can be staged, so that you can bring in, make it look like, so that it is flexible to kind of handle all these options. But for this question, I'd hate to say, but you're probably going to end up having to wait till your tenants are out of there to get it on the market. I know that's what I've got to do.
or it is what it is. So if at least there is an understanding of what the space is all about, and then maybe you can redo later. But right now in today's environment, in today's market, everything is just flying off the shelf. So whoever really would like to move into that area and who is really serious about purchasing the property, maybe they don't really care that someone's jacket is right there on the couch or toys are all over the place. So, but at least they understand and they can measure and they can get that feel of space and understand the sizes of each rooms. Because don't forget that Matterport comes with PDF and JPEG of a floor plan. So it's also a great understanding of what you are going to see. So yes, the room is messy and there are dirty table on the table, you have dirty dishes, but you do have that PDF that you can go by, and you also understand the space.
You know, and Tony in the chat brought up a great point here. You know, that there is an attitude in many markets where houses are now houses are selling so quickly now, and in my market, you know, I think it's 8 days is the average time. I'm in the exurbs of Chicago, in an area that's been kind of historically Rust Belt depressed, and prices are up 20%, and average time on market is 8 days. I do a little bit of work for a few agents around town that I'm friends with and do Matterports of their listings, and the things that they tell me are, number one, they are still doing Matterports even though the average time on market's 8 days, because one, they want to increase their portfolio. Right? They want to be able to show 20 homes that they've sold in the last year or the last year and a half that all have a Matterport done. And they've got this massive data set, all these stats about how quickly they sold, how much over the listing price they sold for. Right? So part of this is that, yes, homes do so quickly, but if you really want to be a top agent, right, you want to use the best tools, and you always want to use the best tools. Why? Because with Matterport, we know we bring in more people, right? More people will see it. If more people see a listing, what happens? Well, you get more offers. If you get more offers, what happens? Price goes up, commissions go up, right? Everyone's happy. And really, if you think about a standard 2,000 square foot home these days, only takes between 30 and 45 minutes to capture with a Matterport 3, with one of a Matterport supported device. So we're not even taking that much time out of your regular work. You're not even taking that much time out of your regular workflow to get this done. And then the benefits, not just for your seller at the higher, price, but your own commissions, make that worthwhile, right? You know that you are getting every potential buyer into that home in a very short window, and right, doing the best for your sellers, right, being the best agent for your sellers. And that's what the top sellers are doing right now, what the top agents are doing right now.
I agree with you. And it kind of brings me to a question, what other ways the agent can leverage that marketing tool. And I agree with you that to have Matterport in your toolbox at your listing presentation is amazing. And it's also investment in your future listing. So when you do present, you can explain, just like you said earlier, you go to the seller and you say, hey, listen, I am going to introduce your property to as many people as possible. And I will only bring serious buyers who are really interested in purchasing your home versus just looking what kind of paintings you have on the wall. So my question to you, what are other ways they should leverage the Matterport as a marketing tool?
Well, so I mean, I think you said it right on part of this, right? It's having this in your portfolio, right? Because I think that one of the biggest challenges, all agents face is, how do you differentiate yourself from the agent that's coming in before you or the agent that's coming in after you to make the same listing presentation, right? So if you have a portfolio of homes in which you've done a Matterport on, you can show them off and you can say this listed for $350, but it ended up selling for $375. We had a total of 15 different offers that we collected over 4 days on this, right?
Right.
That's that number one is a differentiation piece. Two, it shows that that no matter who you are, how old you are, how long you've been in this industry for, whether it's 1 year or whether it's 40 years, that you are able to continually adapt and adjust to a changing environment, right? That you've put your old listing books from 30 years ago away, and you are now fully online, and that you've adopted all of this technology, and that just raises your profile, right, so much. But then, of course, the other part of it is, you mentioned this earlier. If you are putting together a great online listing, this is going to give you all those tools, right? You're getting you get your photos done, you get a Matterport done. From the Matterport, we can generate a traditional schematic floor plan that's going to have all the measurements of every room, right? So that you've got full measurements, you've got a generalized square footage calculation so that you can compare it to, county records to make sure that everything is accurate, right? So now you've got a floor plan, you've got a 3D tour, you've got a way to walk through, and you've got a path, right? Top of the funnel, an email with the listing comes in, you see the front photo, you go into the listing, now you're moving down the funnel, right? Someone looks at that 3D tour, they say, wow, I'm really interested, gets a little closer, they open up the floor plan, they see, oh, this is a really great layout, my kids' rooms are going to be here, here, and here. Now you're really down at the bottom of that funnel, right? This potential buyer is really, really into this. Boom, I'm going to go contact my agent right now, or I'm going to call up the listing agent because I see their name right here, and I'm going to talk to them about making an offer on this, right? Just within that one little bit there, you've gone from top of the funnel of potential people coming in to the bottom of the funnel of selling a home. And it's the same thing when you're working with, going out and looking for sellers, right? Going out and trying to build your book of business, right? You're showing off, how awesome you are with all these tools, right? And how you're going to bring how you're going to bring buyers in for their home, for their property.
What I would like to add to it is, I think one way also to promote how awesome you are is to put Matterport or 3D tour with the dollhouse on your social media, because it's unusual. Everything that's unusual will catch your eye. Majority of ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, what is it? It's just a photo of the front of the house, or maybe 4 photos, like you have the front and the back and the living and the kitchen. But to have a dollhouse that is just spinning around, and it's such a great invite for something completely different. And what are we trying to do today when there is so much information falling from the sky? We are trying is a negative word. What we are doing today, we are doing everything possible to capture that attention and to capture the buyer, or to capture another agent's attention who has a buyer, because you are not just trying to attack and approach all the buyers in the world. You are trying to introduce your listing to your colleagues. And because referral business is so huge right now, so regardless if you are selling your condo in Chicago, you want to make sure that everyone falls in love with your condo in Florida, in Colorado, in Utah, and they bring someone. So it is also done for your colleagues. And I think social media is a big, big hit for 3D because it's so unusual.
Well, and the one thing we haven't talked about here, so, if you're an agent on this call, this is something to ask of your photography or your photography company that's going out and doing this. If you're a photographer, this is something to, think about making available to your agents. But every Matterport tour that's created has a 10 and 15-second teaser video auto-generated of that space. Right? That teaser video starts typically in the kitchen. It then jumps out to a dollhouse and then moves back into a common room. Now, I've been with Matterport for a long time, 6 years now. And I remember when we launched this, and the reasoning behind launching this was that we realized that the best ads that we were putting on Facebook, that we were putting on Instagram and the other social sites, were the ones that had videos of the dollhouse in it, right? That showed that movement, that showed that the uniqueness and, the differentiation. Right. So we said, well, gosh, can we use our artificial intelligence engine Cortex to auto generate, right, little videos that our customers can use for their social media. So those are auto generated off of all those. They're available. Ask your photographer if you're doing these yourself. You can pull them off of the cloud and send them out there. They come in MP4 and GIF format. GIF or GIF, whichever way you prefer. Yeah. I don't want to start a debate on this call, but and include that in your social, in your social media profiles.
I would also like to mention about virtual presentations. When you have a buyer like we are talking about now, it's a totally different environment when everyone is moving from one place of the world to the other. And you are doing that presentation on Zoom or Teams or whatever else you are using. You have to be prepared. Please practice. learn how to jump from the lower level to the second floor, learn how to travel, learn how to zoom in and zoom out, and use that opportunity to talk to your client about not just what they see. You can say, oh, this is this magnificent kitchen and we have marble countertops, and then mention something about the area. I think that is your psychological moment when you can describe not just the property that you are looking at, but also the outside. And speaking of the outside, it used to be that with 3D, you were not able to capture outside, but I understand that now there is technology that allows you to do so. Can you please spend a few minutes on that?
Yeah, so one of the challenges of the Matterport's Pro line of cameras is that we use a technology called structured light, which uses infrared to kind of generate that three-dimensional data set. That means that if you're outside, sunlight's going to really kind of play havoc with that thing. So what we've done is we've developed a technology and a process that allows you to take an outdoor 360 photo that can then be placed as a point outside the dollhouse within the 3D tour. It then auto links to the nearest part of the house, so so that someone can literally walk out the front door into a 360-degrey view of that home from there and then walk back in, right? So that way you can still capture all of the outdoor areas, and any disconnected areas. I did a shoot of a location that had a mother-in-law suite above the garage. We didn't want to capture the garage. We didn't have any way of kind of doing a full 3D kind of from one to the other. So we put a couple 360 shots up there and then linked them in so someone could still see and view that space and walk to that space from the full house within the 3D tour.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There is a question how long my Matterport is available for the property. So usually it's 1 year. For a small fee, it can be extended. You have to give us heads up because we are not keeping track of it. So I understand according to our agreement with the software, how long it lasts, it's 1 year. So, but if you give us like maybe a few weeks before 1 year expires, usually your property should be sold. But if you would like to keep it longer for your listing presentations and for your future investment in future listings, then obviously you would like that Matterport to be available for longer than a year. Do we have any more questions, Kate?
Yeah, let's see here.
So we have something. The issue I found in real estate market not is that the houses are not selling so fast, but looking at anything extra to sell a house. That is your investment in your future listings. You are a well-rounded agent. You are friend of the technology. You have marketing tools to accommodate everybody. So you have the 3D to accommodate someone younger, someone who is not that techy and not that friendly. There is a floor plan that is extracted from the 3D tour, and you can use that to introduce the listing. So I think, yes, I think it is very important to be in touch with today's technology and invest in your future listings.
Whoa, somebody is asking how they can use a drone for 3D capture. Anybody have an answer for that?
That is a question that has come up for all 6 years, once every couple of months for all 6 years that I've been with Matterport. I've even heard stories of people trying to attach our camera to giant drones and fly them around the house. I'm not going to say it's something that's on the roadmap, but one of the really cool parts of our technology is that we support not just our own Pro 2 cameras, but other cameras as well. The Ricoh Theta line, the Ricoh Z1 line, the Insta360 1X and 1R. Those cameras don't have a 3D sensor on it, but because we have this massive data set of homes and properties with three-dimensional data, our artificial intelligence engine Cortex can look at the 360 photos those take and convert them into accurate 3D. Now, does that mean that someday we'll be able to support, drone photography in which we're converting it? Oh boy, I would love to think so. And I know it's a topic that gets tossed around internally and externally all the time. I can't promise anything, only that I'm rooting for it as well, because I think it'd be fantastic.
Well, we're looking forward to listen. Everything is developing so quickly. It's incredible. Malcolm Brooks is asking a question about the market in Chicago. Malcolm, if you can just please reach out to Kate or myself, we will have a separate conversation. That is a really good question, but it's not for today's topic. And then we also have a question about having oops, it's moving around now, standard HDR pictures. The photography is still photography. And I understand that sometimes someone is trying to pull photos from 3D tour. It is not the same quality. Photography will still be one of the most important, not one, it is the base. It's a foundation of your marketing strategy. So please do not replace professional photography with something you can pull from 3D tour. That is two totally different products. And you still need to have the wonderful exposure that only great images can produce. So yep, that is my strong recommendation. And I am a believer of great photography. Anything else? Okay, did I miss some of the questions?
Well, there's a comment here from Ken, just to, so it sounds like he has his own question or system. I'd just love to answer his question. We recently released the ability to blur objects out from workshop mode within the tour, right? So for example, if you're an agent, you see something done and the seller's like, oh man, you can really see like my kids' photos in this. There's now an option within workshop mode that you can go in and blur out anything. So if you've got markers, if you've got something that you don't want seen, right? Maybe it's a painting, maybe it's a camera in the mirror, right? You can, in workshop mode, editors can go in and actually blur out items so that they no longer appear. Just so you know that if you do make a blur and you process it, there's no undo button. Once you've said, I accept this blur, it's done. You can't go back.
Right, absolutely. I have a question here. What's the cost structure like? That is our opportunity to mention to all of you. We have an amazing special going on right now. We call it Listing Power Pack. And Listing Power Pack includes very inexpensively, and it depends on the market where you are. So Bobby, please reach out to us. We'll give you the pricing for your area, where you get 3D tour and a floor plan that you can upload in JPEG or PDF to your to MLS and everywhere else. And that again, it's an add-on to your regular photography package, but it's extremely discounted and it has unlimited square footage, which is also it's a very progressive, a very aggressive offer, and we want you to take advantage of it. Listing Power Pack. So please email, let us know, talk to customer service, or reach out to your sales representative in your area and they will explain exactly what you are getting. But unlimited square footage, especially for the ones who, let's say you have a 2-family home and your seller is in one part and your tenants are in another. I understand the tenants part is not going to be as gorgeous as you wish, but it's still a great opportunity for you to advertise. And the square footage is unlimited. So here we go. Please keep that in mind.
Yes, indeed. And we also have that promo going until the end of next week. It's $50 off the Listing Power Pack.
Oh, that is right.
Yep. That in there. Get it while you can. With that, I'm going to have to wrap this up. This went incredibly fast, but we are at time. So I just want to thank Dan so much for taking his time to be with us today and telling us all about what's new and exciting at Matterport. We're adding a link right now. If our producer Mike can grab that really quickly, asking for your feedback and a short survey. And then I also want to just take a minute to announce our 5 winners of the $25 Doordash gift cards. One moment. Okay, we have Anne Hazen, Armando Villarin, Lynette Kelly, Malcolm Brooks, and Minerva Reynolds. So congrats to you guys, and look out for those DoorDash emails later today. One more thing before we wrap up, be sure to register for our next Lunch with Lucy. It's on June 9th, and we're speaking with Pamela Banks. She's the president of the Women's Council of Realtors. So we're super excited about that. You won't want to miss that one. And that's all we have for you today, folks.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dan. That was absolutely fabulous. And I think those tips and suggestions were so important for our agents and for their clients. So thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Well, great. Thank you guys for having me. VHT has just been a wonderful partner through the years. We are so happy to work with you. And thank you so much for having me on. It's always been always a pleasure to talk to you, Lucy.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the noise. If you heard any noise, yes, Fort Lauderdale. I want you to be quiet next time. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with me. Okay, I love you all. Bye.
Bye.